Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nayri, also known as Wedding Fashion Expert. This week, we are talking about various things that brides are often surprised about when their gown arrives. Before we dive into this week's topic, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, drop me a line below, let me know if there's a particular video topic you'd like me to create a video on. I am here for you, guiding you along the way leading up to your special day. For those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. I am so honored that you have found me. I am, of course, a wedding fashion expert, stylist, buyer, and wear many different hats at LOVELLA Bridal, located in Los Angeles, California. For daily content, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Wedding Fashion Expert, at LOVELLA Bridal, and at LOVELLA Plus. Don't forget to hit that follow button on TikTok at LOVELLA Bridal and at Wedding Fashion Expert as well. I'll never forget a time when I first started out in the industry and one of my brides bought a sheath dress, which means the dress only had one layer. It was silk, and when she tried it on in store, it was long and she stood in it. She didn't really walk around in it because it's very difficult to walk around in the sample dresses because the dresses are too long. When a dress is too long on you, it rolls under your foot and you trip when you walk. So when you are trying on samples versus the dress you get and the dress that gets altered are often very different. Now, you still bought that same dress, but what I mean by different is that the fit changes because it's actually fitted to you properly, and it's now being brought into your proportions, which is a good thing. But there are certain expectations that brides have. And so, for example, this one particular bride was very disappointed that her feet were showing when she walked. And in my head, I'm going, but how would your feet not be able to show when you walk? Because when you take a step, it's just like wearing an evening gown to somebody's wedding, right? When the dress is hemmed, when you take a step, your feet show. And she just hadn't anticipated that that's what would happen when it's hemmed. So ever since that experience, I am very, very mindful that when I'm showing a bride dress, I ask them, do you want your feet to show or not? Because if you don't want your feet to show, then we need to go with a dress that has more layers. So when you take a step, the layer is being pushed in front of you and you're not getting your foot that's coming out from the hem of the dress. The dress that you tried on and the dress you order and receive may appear different. There may be some differences, and there is a reason for this. And I do communicate this to my brides, and I tell them when you get it brand new, your dress is gonna look a little bit more like this. When you hem it, it's going to have a different appearance because oftentimes dresses are very long and sprawled out onto the floor, which makes the dress look like it has more volume, right? But then when you hem it, that volume goes away because the dress then falls straight to the ground versus being sprawled out, right? So there's a big width difference of it being hemmed to you and it being sprawled out onto the floor. Those are things that I bring up because I go through the alteration process with my brides and I see the dress that they tried and I see what it turns into an alteration. There is a variation. The dress you tried on is not exactly going to be the dress that you purchased, which you might be thinking, well, then what the heck am I doing? But this is how the industry works, right? So you see your sample dress, then you place an order and you get a new one. For example, if you're looking at a dress that has crystals that are set in a setting with silver and have prongs, oftentimes our samples oxidize. And so it has a darker look to it. It's almost black, almost brown looking with the crystal. When you get it brand new, it's bright and silver. So when you're looking at our sample, there's a little bit more of a contrast, which some brides really love, some brides don't. They're really happy with the new one because they want the brighter look. But then other brides will come in and say, oh no, I don't like how this looks. I want it like the sample. So we're very mindful when we are working with brides to keep the expectation realistic, to properly inform you how your special order item is going to come in store. Now, this requires a very seasoned stylist who has been through many cycles of purchases to know when this dress comes in, this is what the variation is going to look like, to be able to inform you of that. So I want you to know that when you order a dress, it's not going to be 100% like the sample. There are dye lot variations. What does that mean? Rolls of fabric are ordered and they come from certain dye lots. So we have a sample that was made from a certain roll of fabric. You come in months later, place an order. Well, your dress is likely going to be made from a different roll. So there might be a slight variation in color. It's not going to be a huge ordeal. We do this day in and day out and have so many brides that are so satisfied. This is normal. This is part of the process, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's no different than when you order bridesmaid dresses. You want to order your bridesmaid dresses all at the same time if it's going to be the same manufacturer and same color, so that they make all those dresses at the same time and it comes from the same dye lot and there's no variation in color. Let's say you pick periwinkle. You want all of those dresses to come from that same roll, so there's no shade difference if it came from a different roll of fabric if somebody were to have placed an order a month later or 2 weeks later. It just depends how many dresses they are cutting and how many other orders they get in. Another thing that I encourage you to ask your stylist, which I lightly mentioned about when you hem a dress, it's less full if it's more of a ball gown, right? Or it has a little bit more shape to it. Definitely ask your stylist what the dress is going to look like in your proportions. When you are trying on dresses, we usually put you on a pedestal, and the pedestal makes you a lot taller, but it's also because these dresses are so long to allow the dress to fall, so you can kind of get the most realistic look of it. But oftentimes what I do is I put my bride in a heel height that she'll be wearing. I tuck the fabric in so they can see the height proportion, and once it's altered, what that's going to look like for you. So please ask your stylist, what would this dress look like in my proportions when it's hemmed? How would the bustle look? So that there are no surprises for you. We as bridal stylists are used to this. This is normal for us. We're very immune, but for you, it is the first time. And just in case, be sure to ask all those questions so that you are fully prepared with what you can expect. If you're looking at a sparkle dress, there will be variation. And here's the thing, as stylists, we also don't have a crystal ball, right? We're not in a part of the manufacturing team. We can't guarantee what it's going to look like. So for example, I recently had a bride in store. She loved a lace veil with her lace dress. The veil was a little bit more yellow than the dress. It was like a deeper ivory, where she was in a more off-white ivory. It was not fully white, and it was not a deep ivory, but the veil was a deep ivory. Here's the thing, the dress had been in store maybe about 4 months. The veil we've had for years. So it does oxidize over time, but here's the other component of it, is that because we've had that veil for years, the veils she'd be ordering, right, would be from a new roll of fabric. So I can't guarantee what that shade of white is going to be or ivory is going to be. So you have to take that order, and I was very transparent and very honest about it, that you will have to take that order as it comes. It is a final sale, especially being made for you. This veil was custom made for Lovella. It was our request. It's what we felt we needed. And that's why we've had it for so long, and it's beautiful. But when you're ordering even your veil to your dress, and it's different manufacturers, there is going to be a slight variation in color. But the one thing I will say, in a bridal store, in a sea of white, all those different shades, you can see the color differences. If I took your dress and your veil outside of Lovella and just left it alone, and you're not comparing it with different shades of white, it is not going to look as obvious. So don't panic about that. That's also very normal, that your veil and your dress are not the exact same color. Super normal, unless it is a matching veil from the manufacturer. And even then, the tulle of the veil isn't always the same color as the dress. There is a little bit of variation because it's a different fabric. Just keeping your expectations realistic here, and there's no need to panic over these things. This is very normal. And the one thing I will tell you is that a lot of brides like to zoom in on certain aspects of things, and they'll start to nitpick on one particular strap, one particular side. I encourage you to step away, zoom out, and look at the full picture of everything before you make any decisions. Because when you are making decisions and changing things on a zoomed in perspective, you're losing sight of the overall vision, and then you kind of mess up the full look of your dress. I want you to take that into consideration as well. The second you feel like you're starting to zoom in on things, zoom out, look at it as a whole, and reassess if you were to make that change, how would it look on the greater scale and the grand scheme of things. Another thing to consider is that the samples that you are trying on, because they are hanging and they are smushed between other dresses, and it's really, the gravity is being weighed down. When you get your dress brand new, oftentimes it's a lot more fresh and a little bit more full, has a little bit more body to it. So you will see that sometimes it does feel a little bit different because it is fresh and brand new. So know that there might be a little bit of variation in the fullness of the dress and the crispness of the dress because of its newness of it. And know that the color of your dress and the color of your veil that I talked about is going to be different in every lighting. So at Lovella, we have evening lighting available for brides to see their dress in the evening light. We have natural light from our windows. Our brides will walk over to the natural light to see what it looks like in the natural light, which usually fabrics look more brighter in natural light. So there's all these different options of lighting, and the dress will appear differently. I also encourage you to look at the dress through photos while you are in it to see how it photographs in the different lightings. So all in all, to say, there are things that are going to be different on the dress that you order. It's for the better. I have had brides who have liked our sample more and wish they could have bought the sample, especially those brides who have stones that have oxidized and are darker. It has more of a vintage look. When you get it brand new, it doesn't look like that. But I am super, super particular in making sure that I tell my brides these things. But if you have a new stylist who is new to the industry, and I'm sure is so wonderful, they're still learning how all of this goes. So if you're watching this video and you have a stylist that's on the newer side, ask these questions so that you are fully prepared, or don't ask these questions and know everything that I'm saying in the video, and just know that there will be a little bit of a difference, but in the best way possible. Also, the last thing I want to note here is most dresses are handmade. Lace placements, flower placements may vary slightly. You would only notice if you're looking under a microscope. So also note they're handmade. It's a beautiful thing. It's no different than going and shopping for like a leather bag, right? Leather bags, each bag is gonna have a little bit of a different feel because it's not made of the exact same piece of leather, right? Like it might cave in an area, it might sag at the bottom corners a little bit, where maybe another one has a little bit more structure, the leather is a little bit thicker. It's the same thing with wedding dresses. They're not 100% all the same. That is why you have alterations. You can make some minor changes, make it to fit your body beautifully, and it's perfect. So it always turns out beautifully. For any questions, please drop me a comment below. I'm happy to always answer. For more videos and tips like these, be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I will see you in next week's video.